and welcome to Ask Me About K-Pop, the essential guide for recent converts and seasoned fans alike. My name is Shannon.
And I'm Angelica.
And welcome to the show. Today we are going to be talking about a staple of K-pop culture for the last 12 years. It's finally happening again for the first time in a while. So we had some listeners ask on the Discord, like, could you explain this to us? Like, because I imagine a lot of people who've gotten into K-pop in the last couple of years.
Especially people who got into it during the pandemic, which I think a lot of people started listening to K-pop at that time. Like, now it's finally happening for the first time since COVID shut everything down. So it's like new and on the news and people are asking.
So we're talking about ISAC today, the Idol Star Athletic Championships.
Woo!
As presented by MBC every year, sometimes twice a year since 2010.
Yeah, almost most times twice a year. There are winter games and then there are summer games as well, and it's broadcast as a holiday special for both the Lunar New Year and Chuseok, which is a holiday that happens in October.
Yes. So yeah, we just wanted to give a rundown of how it has changed over the years and like what to expect from an ISAC, and then we'll talk about like some injuries that have happened because it is a sports competition and sometimes people get hurt, and talk about memorable moments and star athletes and just all the things.
Yeah, because this is a really big, I think it's very, very popular for fans because this is one of the only events in K-pop where you get to see the idols hanging out very casually because there's so much downtime. It's like such a huge event. There's so many idols that participate. And when they're not participating in a specific event, like a specific, I'm not running right now, they're just sitting around and they get to hang out with people that are in other groups as well. And it's done in an audience. So fans are there to watch it and they get to like record or whatever. So there's all these like very fun, like little, behind the scenes moments or whatever that I think like live in fandom history. So it's a staple, I think, of K-pop, and has always been a bit controversial because people, like the main crux of it is that people really enjoy it because it is super entertaining and they get to see their idols in like different lights. But there are so many injuries that happen, and a lot of times like fans get upset because of the way that it can impact schedules. And there were also like some instances of like, like because NBC also runs these music shows, like if you don't participate in ISAC, like maybe you don't get as like well promoted on their shows or whatever. It's like all of these different things that people of course have tons of complaints about, but we're going to kind of give you a general overview. We will talk about some of the major controversies and of course the most memorable moments from throughout the years, but we've got a lot to get into.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just like preface up top that like I feel like ISAC is one of those things that there's a lot of things in K-pop that I feel like you get introduced to K-pop and then you are just told by other K-pop fans like this is a thing that's bad and you shouldn't like it. And I don't know why ISAC has that reputation. So like I'm just gonna say I love ISAC. I think it's super fun. So this is not going to be a hate episode. Like I think it's great and I think it's fun. There are obviously issues, but like I think it's fun.
I think it is fun. However, I also agree that the injuries in particular are like not taken into account or taken as seriously because like it is possible to have a career-ending injury in something like this. And I think that because it is all like fun, that there are a lot of instances where the idols like don't necessarily get the proper preparation that they need or the right training. And so then they're going into and they're like giving their all to these athletic competitions and they're putting themselves at risk, or their companies are putting them at risk for what could ultimately be like a really major injury if like the cards are not right. So I like do understand the controversy, but I'm kind of like on the fence because I'm one of those people that's like, well, I don't like sports, but like, fuck, I love watching these. Like, they're so, oh my God, I'm like screaming at my TV, like, run, and like so into it. But also I'm like watching it between my fingers because I'm like, what if they fall? Like, so I get, I'm on both sides of the coin.
Sure. Fair. Okay. So let's get into it. Like I said, ISAC stands for Idol Star Athletics Championship, but it's often just shortened to the ISAC for ease of typing it out or whatever. And like we said, it began in 2010 and is broadcast on NBC. There have been 21 editions, including the one that is yet to air this year. And according to a special that they had in 2020, they said that 3,800 different idols over the last 12 years have participated in this.
That sounds right to me because they have at least 200 people participating every year. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
That sounds like a real number.
So the general premise of ISAC is that idols all wear cute matching outfits. They're like sponsored by different like companies every year, and they compete in various Olympic style competitions. And we'll talk about how they change and evolve over the years, but it starts as a general track and field thing. There's an opening ceremony every time where the idols walk the track with their team flags, and they do the whole opening ceremony. Like we said, fans get to watch this from the stands, and they make infinite fan cams because the idols are just chilling most of the time. And the fans love the fan cam content, but they also hate the whole thing because of the injuries. And the actual broadcast is treated like a very sincere sporting event. It's like filmed really dynamically and they like make it really interesting, and is usually hosted by a combination of real sports commentators and comedians. And then in later years, they started adding idols to the commentary panel as well.
Yeah. But it really is filmed like the Olympics. Like you get multiple camera angles and you get replays and you get like audience reactions, like the whole shebang. It's an official sporting event.
So something that every single ISAC starts with that I think is really cute and fun is the athlete's oath. And every year, 2 to 4 idols are chosen as the athlete representatives, and they go up on a stage and they all raise their right hand and they say an oath, and they change it every year. Like it's never exactly the same, and it's always kind of cheeky and funny and poking fun at the fact that like they are idols and they are not athletes. So like some highlight quotes from past opening oaths, they say things like, "We will not be lazy or give less than our best just because it's a holiday. I will not separate my fans from others' fans, and I'll do my best for all the fans. We'll never forget that our fans and viewers are always watching us. We won't act stuck up because we debuted a long time ago. Regardless of our career, experience, and beauty, we will do our best as equal athletes." And one of my favorites from like
my favorite one.
2011 is, "Today we will take out our insoles and take off our stilettos and work until we are covered in sweat."
Which is funny because they do already work until they're covered in sweat, but in their insoles and stilettos.
Right,
so now
right,
they get to do it in tracksuits.
Yeah, a little easier, arguably.
I would think so.
Okay, so just to get started, I was going to run down all of the ISACs and like in order so we can see how they like change from year to year. So the very first one in 2010 was located at the Mokdong Stadium, which is a huge stadium. It has 15,000 seats and it's outdoor.
Right.
And when they were doing it in this really big stadium, the fans were only sitting in a tiny portion of it and the rest of the stadium was left empty. So I'm sure they stopped doing it in these big outdoor ones because I bet it costs a lot to like rent it for the day. The first one had 130 idols from 15 different companies that were split into 16 teams by company, but JYP got 2 teams. I'm not sure why, but like they did. It was held on September 14th, 2010 and aired on the 25th and 26th as a Chuseok special. And the original outfits were team-colored polo shirts and either black or white kind of capri long short pants. And then they had like a name bib, like your standard track name bib on the front. And the original events were 100-meter dash, hurdles, 100-meter relay, long jump, and javelin. So they did straight Olympics.
Just track and field. So like really taking advantage of that stadium. And those events are going to change like throughout the years.
And NBC announced a second season only a few days after this aired and said, "We're preparing a special swimming championship for next year."
All right.
So the next year, in January of 2011, they did the ISAC swimming championships at the Jamshid Arena, which has 11,000 seats and is indoor because now it's wintertime, so they're not outside.
And they're going to use a pool.
So we had 140 idols split into 17 teams for this one, and it aired on February 5th and 6th for Lunar New Year. And the outfits for this time were like they had puffer vests. Like everyone had a team colored t-shirt, but the boys had red puffer vests and the girls had white puffer vests, like to give your winter vibes.
Sure.
And they had the same like capris as last time. And for this one, they did only 50-meter dash. They started to make the running shorter and shorter because, again, they fall down a lot and you don't want them running a long time. Hurdles. Then they added high jump and swimming for the second ISAC. Then they did another summer one in 2011, back at Mokdong outside, 150 idols in 12 teams. This one was held in August of 2011 and aired in September, only on one day, but it was like a big long block. For this one, we had shirts and capris again, but some of the teams had like hoodies and everything was New Balance. They were all wearing New Balance shoes, New Balance shirts. That's who the sponsor was that year. And according to an article I read, 10,000 people were in the audience for this. It didn't seem that way from the videos, but like an article was written that said that many people came. So maybe they did.
Maybe they were all spread out.
Who knows? So for this one, we have 100-meter dash, hurdles, relay, long jump in addition to high jump. And they added a walking relay, which I will have a funny story about later in the episode. But
I also added in the highlights a special shout out to one of the speed walking events because they just tickle me.
It is very funny. So then 2012 Lunar New Year, we're back for swimming championships at the indoor Jamshid again. We had 150 idols split into 16 teams. This one was held on January 8th and aired on January 24th. And the outfits for this one were team colored zip like windbreaker jackets with a matching t-shirt, and everyone was wearing black like legging pants. And for this one, they did 50-meter dash, hurdles, relay, high jump, and swimming. So pretty much the same as the previous Lunar New Year one. Then for Chuseok 2012, we were back at the outdoor Mokdong Stadium, 150 idols, and this time they were in 9 teams. So as the teams got smaller, they stopped doing like every single company gets a team, and they started like sort of mashing teams into like
Interesting.
different companies into the same team. Because I also think that they sort of, as it went on, they stopped sending entire groups.
Yeah.
It'd be like, only these 2 want to run. So like, we're not going to make everyone show up.
Yeah. So like the teams that are happening it's not like every group is their own team. And so now you're getting now you're even getting a mixture of groups from different companies in a special team. So it's all kind of like random, I guess, in the sense of like who you're playing with and like who you're playing for or whatever. So it's all in good fun.
This year, we were back to colored t-shirts and black capris with the same white bibs, but they also were wearing ponchos and holding umbrellas most of the time because it was raining this year while they did it. This time, we had a lot more events. We did 100-meter hurdles, walk relay, long jump, high jump, and they added archery, fencing, mixed doubles, table tennis, and then they had a special like rookie relay that was like just the rookies. For 2013, the archery part was important, so they renamed this one the Archery Championships. They put it in the title.
Yeah. And archery to this day, I think, is still one of the most popular events.
Yes.
Like, because it's very impressive to watch.
And also it's like, I feel like it's Korea's sport. Like when they go to the Olympics, they get the gold in archery like most of the time. It's like one of their like, national sports that they're very proud of. So this time they moved it to Goyang Gymnasium, which is much smaller and is indoor. And this is kind of like the main venue. This becomes like the most common venue. And this time we had 150 idols in 10 teams. again, mixing companies. This one was held on January 28th and aired on February 11th. And then they also had like a whole special of extra footage that they aired on February 20th. So they spread this one out a little bit.
Yeah, I read that there are some of the events, I guess kind of like the Olympics, some of the events aren't televised.
Sure.
So I'm sure there's a ton of bonus footage every year.
This time they wore super brightly colored sweatsuits with zip hoodies, and the brand is called Pancoat. So it like said that down their legs, and every team had like a different cartoon animal on their main shirt that was like branded with this brand. But like it's all very, very brightly colored sweatsuits. This time the running was only they did 70-meter running. Hurdles, 100-meter relay, high jump, and archery, and they added a mixed gender team relay. So that was fun and exciting. I just noted that Shiny was not Shiny. I mean Mino, because he started going by himself at a point, but he was not at the opening ceremonies because he was literally filming the Dream Girl music video. And when he shows up later to do his events, his hair is done. Like done. I love it. 2013 Chuseok Games back at Goyang Gymnasium, 160 idols in 5 teams. This was the first time that they were just like too many teams. So they were A, B, C, D, E.
Done.
Just like mixed companies, mixed people, 5 teams. That's it. This time they also have their Pancoat sweatsuits, but they're more pastel colored this time. And I feel like the pastel sweatsuit is what my mind goes to when you say like, what do people wear at ISAC? That pastel sweatsuit is like what I envision. But instead of animal cartoons, this time the shirts were jersey style. Like they had a number and they said like Pancoat or whatever on the back. This time they did 100-meter, 2 different relays, high jump, archery, and they added futsal, which is like a indoor soccer with only 5 people, and the ball is much smaller than an actual soccer ball.
I read it's kind of a combination between, I think it's because of the ball, a combination between soccer and volleyball. So I think maybe I know that you're not allowed to use your hands, but I think that maybe the ball is kind of like a volleyball or something like that. I don't know. When I watched clips of the futsal, I was like, I don't see how this is volleyball. This just looks like soccer to
another
me.
year they do foot volleyball where there is a net in the middle and you play volleyball.
But when they play futsal, they're just playing football.
It's just soccer with less people on a smaller indoor thing.
With like a different kind of ball. But that was the definition I was given for futsal when I was like, why is it with an S? But yeah. That one aired on September 19th and 20th. It was filmed earlier that month.
2014 ISAC for Lunar New Year, we went back to the Jamshil Arena from the first games. And this time we had 230 idols in 4 teams. So so they like kept on this like just put people in 4 big teams method. This one was filmed on January 13th and aired on January 30th and 31st. We still have our pastel Pancoat sweatsuits on, but the undershirts were baseball tees. And for futsal, they had shorts. And this time the bibs like matched the team color. Previously, they were always like white bibs, but this time they like perfectly matched everybody's outfits. And I think they look good. The events for this one, we had 60-meter race, relay, high jump, archery, futsal, mixed relay, and then they added curling because that was a Winter Olympics year, and so they thought it would just be funny to do curling, and it was very funny because absolutely none of them knew how to do curling, and it's very, very hilarious to watch.
And maybe I wonder if this is because of the Olympics, but 2014 they didn't have a Chuseok special of ISAC. They only did it in the winter.
That would make sense. 2015 the title got really long and the
titles start getting kind of long.
And the announcers, when I watched this one, every time the announcer had to read the title, he would laugh because it's so long. But it was called the 2015 ISAC Basketball, Futsal, Archery Championships.
Great.
This one is back at the Goyang Gymnasium, 220 idols into 22 teams. So we're back to company teams. Split them all up. I wasn't sure when this one was held because for whatever reason, this year fan cams were banned in 2015. I couldn't find a reason why. I just found articles of them announcing the 2015 lineup and all the comments being like, who even cares? Fan cams are banned this year. And I was like, why? I don't know why.
And it seemed to be the only year that that was true. So unclear.
Unclear, but it did air on February 19th and 20th. And this time they were just wearing team colored t-shirts and nobody's pants matched. Like it seemed like they could wear whatever pants they wanted that year.
Just like pull out a pair of sweatpants that you have.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And they had 60-meter relay, high jump, futsal, archery, and they added basketball. And I think it's like the only year they do it one more time. But like
basketball doesn't stick around for a long time.
Then for the 2015 Chuseok Games, it was called the 2015 ISAC Korean Wrestling Basketball Futsal Archery Championships.
I don't know why we feel the need to like shove all the events in the title, but whatever.
This one had 300 idols participating in 10 different teams. This one was held on 2 different days, August 10th and 11th, and aired September 28th and 29th. T-shirts or colored team windbreakers and the capris were back for this edition. And they did 60-meter relay, futsal, basketball. They added women's wrestling, Korean wrestling, which is called
Sirum.
Shiram, I think.
2 S's.
Yes, Shiram. And it's like you wear a strap around your waist and a strap around one thigh. And so you hold onto your opponent's like leg and thigh straps, and then you try to throw the other person onto their back.
Yeah, and that's all you have to do. You just have to pin them on their back, and like they don't even have to be down for a certain amount of time. Like it's not like other kind, like American wrestling here or whatever. Yeah, and like count or whatever. You just like flop them on their back, boom, match over.
You win.
Like, that's it.
This year, for some reason, because in previous years the teams all just had a letter. Team A, Team B, Team C. This year, they let the teams like pick silly names. So every single team had like a long, silly name. And some, like one was called the Team Yovengers. And the team that Monsta X was on was called Team Week Old Puppy, which I'm sure is like a single word in Korean. But like, they were cute names. And one of the basketball teams, I thought this was so clever. One of the basketball teams was called the Shootago Bulls. And Shootago means like shoot it, like
do it.
But it rhymes with Chicago.
Chicago Bulls. That's so funny. That's
I know.
Cute.
I loved it. Also, this was the highest rated ISAC ever because they brought back a lot of like first gen idols who hadn't been at the games in a while. So it was like defending titles and so people were really excited to see this one.
Not when you say first gen idols, do you mean from the first generation or second gen idols who participated in the first generation of ISAC?
I think that's what I mean.
Yeah. I think that's what you mean too.
I think that's what I mean.
HOT did not participate in ISAC.
No. But a couple people did. I have
yes,
something later.
We have some later.
Okay, moving on to 2016 for Lunar New Year Games. It was called Korean Wrestling Futsal Archery Championships. And Goyang Gymnasium, 180 idols, and we're back down to 7 teams. So
I don't know why they keep going back and forth. And that's not going to stop. They're just the whole time. No rhyme or reason.
This one was held January 18th and 19th and aired February 9th and 10th, 2016. And this time, it was the same brand of uniforms, but everybody had a different style of top. Like there were hoodies and there were the little turtleneck hoodies and there were long sleeve, like everyone was wearing a different top, but they all had the same like gray sweatpants that had lots of crazy like graphics all over them.
Yeah.
Events. 60-meter relay. We added men's wrestling this time, futsal archery, and then mixed archery. So I guess they did some mixed gender teams for archery this time.
And just to clarify, when we like quickly say like 60-meter relay, those are 2 different events.
Yes.
A 60-meter race and then a relay.
Race. Yeah.
Just FYI.
And the beginning of this one was very cute. During the opening ceremony, they sang the Seoul Olympic theme song, which is called Hand in Hand. But all of the idols were like dispersed through the crowd in disguises. Like
Cute.
A-Pink was wearing mascot costumes and they like took their heads off and then they were singing and their fans were like, oh shit. And like my favorite one is 2 of the BTSs were fully dressed in camera equipment and had cameras and had been standing with the fans for God knows how long. And then they like took their hats off and oh my God, they were just standing right there. And it was like a good fun time.
That's great. I love that.
2016 Chuseok Games. These ones were called the 2016 Rhythmic Gymnastics Futsal Archery Championship. So
Give you an idea of the new event.
Still in Goyang Gymnasium, 200 idols, 7 teams. This one was held on August 29th and aired September 15th. And they did colored team tees under white windbreaker jackets, and then the bibs were colored by the team as well. We did 60-meter race, relay, archery, futsal, and they added rhythmic gymnastics, which is the gymnastics where you have either a ball or a hoop or a little
or a ribbon
stick.
Or clubs, and the idols get to choose which prop they want to participate
and some are
in.
harder than others, and it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
We went back to plain letter names. This one, previous to they'd done the fun team names, and then they're back to ABC. I guess they were like, we're
Just the 1 year.
just the one time. And no SM artists participated in this Chuseok 2016 games because the whole company went to Hawaii that year.
Yeah, it was the 20th anniversary of the founding of SM. And so Lee Soo-man paid to take like 300 people to Hawaii. So no one from SM participated in the Chuseok ISAC that year.
2017 Lunar New Year Games were called the Archery Rhythmic Gymnastics Aerobics Championships. Still at Goyang Gymnasium, 194 idols in 38 teams, which is the most individual teams we've ever had so far. This one was held January 16th and aired January 30th. And this year, I think, is the most confusing year to watch because they put all the boys in black pants, white zip jacket, all the girls in black pants, pink zip jacket. Mm-hmm. So when you're like watching the relay, it's like you can't tell what team anyone is on because they were all wearing the same outfit.
It's very weird.
It was very confusing. We had 60-meter race, relay, archery, and rhythmic gymnastics. And why didn't I write it? Because the aerobics, it's in the freaking title. This is the year that we added aerobic dance. And this is a very specific style of something. Aerobics was like invented in the 80s as a sporting form. And there were a couple of aerobic championships that went like viral on the internet in the early 2000s of like people like jumping around in these little like leotards. And it's a very specific, like, it's not dancing and it's not gymnastics, it's aerobics. And there's like specific jumping and like arm things you have to do. And like, it's arguably very silly, but it's so fun to watch.
It is. I was like, this is the funniest thing ISAC has ever done, because it's wildly entertaining to watch. There's so many like silly little like hops and like running in place, and like it's just goofy to like see your idols like not looking so cool or whatever. But it is also very impressive because the aerobics piece of it, like there's a bunch of flips and like they throw each other around and they like do a lot of lifts, and like it's very cool to watch, but it's also very goofy.
But it's like so goofy because I assume that it's some kind of like rule of the sport that like the boys, because this is a boys only event, that they have to be wearing like a full onesie.
Yes. But the onesie has to have wide leg pants.
Yeah, like weird wide leg pants and like a full long sleeve onesie. But like they would be designed to be like Astro, like they're dressed like pirates. So like the top of it looks like a shirt and the bottom looks like pants, but it's all one piece. And it has so many, and at the parts where there's supposed to be skin, there's rhinestones, like a ballroom dancing costume on the illusion netting, and like they're just funny.
They're really funny. It's really funny to watch.
But it's great. And at the beginning of this one, Sandul, Dayon, Yerin, and DK all got up on stage and led the whole group in a warm-up dance that 17 had choreographed. And it was a very like jump in place, like little
Everybody
thing.
get ready.
And it's very cute to watch because some people are really great at following the choreography immediately and others are not. And it's very funny.
And you're like, now I can see you has to work harder at the choreo.
Yeah. 2018 Lunar New Year, bowling, archery, rhythmic gymnastics aerobic championship. Goyang Gymnasium, 200 idols, 14 teams. Held January 15th and aired February 15th and 16th. And this year, every team was wearing something different. Assorted athletic wear, but like there was not any uniformity to what people were wearing that year. We did 60-meter relay, archery, rhythmic gymnastics, aerobics, and they added bowling.
We'll talk about why later.
And this one had 56 different K-pop groups participating, and that was the longest list I saw of this whole time. Like 56 different groups. And groups, sometimes like Eric Nam is, quote, a group.
Right. But
you know what I mean?
Solo artists will participate sometimes too, and then they're just like their own. I mean, they're not on their own team, but like they're just their own little group.
Yeah. 2018 Chuseok special was called the 2018 Bowling, Archery, Rhythmic Gymnastics, Futsal or Foot Volleyball Championship.
Now we've got the foot volleyball.
Goyang Gymnasium. I didn't have the exact number of idol participants, but 42 different groups brought people. This one was held on August 20th and the 27th, so a full week between recordings, and it aired on September 25th and 26th. And every team was also dressed differently again, but a few of the teams had the monochrome sweatsuit on, which is all I want.
Yeah.
I love the monochrome.
It doesn't make sense to me when they
sweatsuit.
don't match.
I know. So for this one, we had a 60-meter race, relay, archery, bowling, and they added foot volleyball, which I had to look up, and it literally is like there's a low net on the ground and you have to like play volleyball with your feet only.
Yeah, which is fun. It's something I've only ever seen. Actually, no, I've seen idols play it like when they go to like camp or something.
Sure.
But I was gonna say, I was like, the only time I've ever seen it is when like I took my kids to like the Boy Scout camp and they had like a little low thing. But yeah, it's funny to see them like get so competitive over what is objectively a silly looking sport.
So 2019, we're done with the really big titles because this one is just called the 2019 ISAC Lunar New Year Special.
And we get real simple from here on out. They're like, you know what? ISAC already covers the fact that it's sports, so we don't have to list all the sports.
Right.
Why it took them so many years to realize that, I don't know.
This one took place at the Samsan World Gymnasium. This is the first time they were there. This is an indoor 7,000 person stadium. We had idols from 52 different groups, including the joke auntie group Celeb 5.
Nice.
They were a team that year. This one was held on January 7th and aired February 5th and 6th. And the sweatsuits were fully back this time, but they had like Adidas-like stripes on the jacket and the pants. But the colors were nice and bright, and everyone looked like athletes on little teams, and I love it. Exact same events as Chuseok for this one. We had 60-meter relay, archery, bowling, foot volleyball. They kept that one. I guess it was fun. Moving on to 2019.
Well, we're still in 2019, but now the Chuseok special.
Chuseok special. Sorry. There's so many of these.
There are.
Back to Goyang Gymnasium. 230 idols in 44 teams. August 12th was when it was recorded, and it aired September 12th and 13th. We have tracksuit style outfits again, but this time there's white stripes, and not everyone was wearing the matching pants, but most people were.
But most people had matching jackets at least.
Yes. And we added a lot of events this year. We did our 60-meter, our relay, archery, men's wrestling, and then they added penalty shootout, women's pitching, which is where the girls like do their pretty high kick baseball pitches. And then they had mixed esports, like people playing PUBG and stuff, and added horseback riding as well. Very fancy.
Very fun.
Then for 2020, this is our last like in-person ISAC because it was filmed in December of 2019 at Namdong Gymnasium. 202 idols from 51 different groups. This one aired January 25th and 26th. And we had a lot of different colored tracksuits with multicolored stripes, white tee underneath, and the equestrian idols had blazers and horse riding outfits.
Yeah, they looked the part.
They did track and field, archery, Korean wrestling, pitching, penalty shootout, esports, and horseback riding at this one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then things change up a little bit for our Chuseok special in 2020 because we were all in lockdown. So somewhere in the Gyeonggi province, they hosted this event.
But this time, it's the 2020 Idol Esports Athletic Championships Chuseok Special. So they changed it's not ISAC, it's ISAC.
Yeah.
Because all the indoor events were canceled due to COVID. So they do an esports competition that was held outside with no audience. And the idols were separated by what they called protective booths, but it's literally just like a table that has like a plastic divider in between. And these photos are really silly to see because like the idols, since they're outside, but they're literally playing games on their phones. And so they had to like block out the sun in different ways. And so like there's a picture, I don't know who it is, but there's a picture of a boy who has like a pillow on his head and it's just like playing or whatever because he's like trying to see. But yeah, the exact number of idols was not listed, but they had 23 different groups. It was held September 14th and it aired October 1st through the 2nd. But I also saw some articles saying that there was a live broadcast of September 14th one as well. But yeah, this year they seemed very color coordinated. Like almost all of they were all wearing their tracksuits with like white t-shirts underneath, but the tracksuits were mostly like red, orange, or pink. And then a lot of the girls were wearing blue. And they had like black side stripes.
Love it.
Mm-hmm. But they only had 2 events this year. They played 2 mobile games, the PUBG, Player Unknown's Battlegrounds, and then Kart Rider. And in conjunction with this event, they also aired the 2020 Idol Star Dog Agility Championships Chuseok Special Idol Woof Woof Athletics Championships to replace all the indoor events. This was filmed on September 17th, and it featured 11 teams of idols and their dogs who reportedly trained for 2 months to prepare. And there's just like a handful of idols that like bring their dogs, but a few things of note is that one, Moonbyul has 3 corgis and they all competed.
Who's she, the Queen of England?
Right! They looked so dapper, though, because in the opening ceremonies of this Woof Woof Athletics Championship, all of the dogs wore clothes that matched their idol owners, and she does look very British. She makes them look at them!
Chapeau!
Look at their sweaters!
They have collars on.
Sweaters!
The dogs have collars on.
Everybody dressed up except for Youngjae from GOT7. He and his dog, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom. He literally looks like he just rolled out of bed. Like he's wearing like a hoodie and his dog is naked.
Yeah, all these other dogs have great clothes on.
And they're like perfectly matching their idols. And then Youngjae just shows up like, what? I'm here. But yeah, so that was a fun additional thing that they did that year to make up for the fact that it was a abridged event.
Love it.
So then we get into like, they start to have to change things because in 2021, they didn't hold an actual competition. They did an ISAC New Year's special Hall of Fame. And this was filmed at some NBC studio, I presume. It was hosted by Jun Hyun-moo and Lee Tuck from Super Junior. They were the hosts, but then they brought on idol guests who had gone down in ISAC history for their impressive records and newer idols who had grown up watching ISAC. So they had like the participants and then kind of like the legacy as well. So they had Mino from SHINee, Yoon Do-jun from Highlight, Bomi from A-Pink, Minhyuk from B2B, Songhee from Oh My Girl, Moonbin from Astro, Jino from NCT Dream, Juyeon from The Boys, Hyunjin from Stray Kids, and Yeji and Leah from ITZY. That was the panel. This aired February 11th to the 12th. I don't know when it was filmed. And
I think it was filmed before the year even started, because I watched this whole thing yesterday and they kept saying like, I hope 2021, like they kept talking about 2021 like it wasn't here yet.
And
So
whenever it was, Mino has his Don't
his
Call Me
Don't Call
Red
Me
Hair,
Here, but like
so-
that hadn't happened because
Right.
Hyunwoo says something about like, are y'all gonna put music out soon? And he's like, just hold on.
Yeah.
Because he was clearly in the middle of doing it.
But everyone is wearing like suits, blazers, and button-ups with these like really big patches of what I guess is an ISAC logo. So they look like they're wearing fancy school uniforms, and it's a lot of like plaid and brown
Very
and gray.
like they look like they're being sports commentators to comment on their sport.
So this special, they just discussed like the records that had been set. They watched highlights together, and then they shared behind the scenes memories. So it's just kind of a look back.
Yeah, it's a nice little special, but like just to note, Minhyuk from B2B and Mino are only in the first episode, and then Moonbin and Jino come for the second episode. Otherwise, the panel is the same. But like those boys like switch between episodes. Probably too busy.
Probably. And then that takes us to this year, 2022. This is back to a regular title, ISAC Chuseok Special. This is located at the MBC Open Hall and Goyang Gymnasium. The exact number of participants hasn't been listed yet, but about 30 groups and soloists participated in it. It was held on July 30th and August 1st, but it will air September 9th to the end 12th. So it has not aired yet as of this recording. But based on the fan photos that we've seen on Twitter, we can see that they're wearing multicolored tracksuits with the side stripes again. And the events are track and field, archery, dance sports, futsal, and esports as well. And dance sports is supposedly a new category. I don't know how that's going to be different from the aerobics dance, but we'll find out, I guess. And people are already talking about a couple of different things. The one that I've seen like everybody talking about is that Kepler member Xiao Ting, she did a dance sport performance, which actually I can't say what that is now. It's ballroom dancing. It's like essentially a contestant on like So You Think You Can Dance or Dancing with the Stars, whatever. And she does this like you can watch the full thing on Twitter, like a fan cam version of it, not the official one yet, but it's really, really good. She does like, it starts out like Moon River Breakfast at Tiffany's, and then she like does a costume change and she's got a partner. It's very good. Her footwork is crazy. But that has not aired yet. So that has taken us all the way to today. We have a few weeks and then we'll be able to see it in all its glory.
So you'll have so much time to catch up on all of these old ones and get excited for the new one, because that's all I've been doing for like 3 days is watching old ISAC. And I love it.
Wildly entertaining.
It's so entertaining.
I don't care about sports, but I care about ISAC.
I don't either, but it's so good.
It is entertaining.
Okay, so I wanted to take a moment to talk about some idols who have like the most medals ever. And I also have to like preface this by I had to go hunt these myself and look at 21 different pages of results and try to calculate like, so I think I missed some. Like
this is just a handful.
This is a handful, and like the numbers, and also the numbers that NBC was saying in that recap special were like off by like 5 of what I had written down. So I was like, maybe people didn't list all the medals and I'm off. But I can say that these idols won a lot. We can at least do that. So EXID Solji has 5 gold medals and 3 silver medals for 8 medals total. A-Pink Bomi also has at least 8 medals. I think she might have more based on how they were talking in that episode. But she is one of the idols who has participated in every single ISAC since her group debuted. She has been at every single one, and she does every sport. Like whether or not she's good at it, she just likes to do them all because it's a fun opportunity to do something else. So she has participated a ton and has a bunch of medals. Our precious Mino has at least 6 gold medals, 1 silver, and 2 bronze, at least 9, maybe more. Again, at least 9. One of the biggest champions of ISAC is B2B Minhyuk. He is unbelievably fast, and he's so good at the high jump. So I counted 14 medals for him, but NBC said he had 20.
Okay.
So like he was like kind of the ringer to like try to beat for a couple of years. He was very good. ZEA's Dongjun was also really unstoppable, and I counted 22 different medals for him.
10 gold medals.
10
that boy
gold
won.
ones. Yeah. And then Dalshabet member Gaun was like the fastest girl for years and years, and she has 16 ISAC medals. But the like undisputed champion of ISAC, I was kind of sad that they didn't talk about this in the like Hall of Fame special. I wonder if it's just
Yeah, or
because
have her on. Like,
maybe it was like she's too busy, so we're just gonna skip her. But Sistar's Bora is the champion of ISAC, like period. I counted at least 21 medals for her. I think she probably has more because my counts were off. But like, she was so fast. She was really good at archery. Like, Bora was like the girl to beat as long as Sistar was around.
and she has the most gold medals of anyone, for sure. She has over 10. So she beats Dongjun.
And then some more recent ones. Golden Child Jangjun has 10 medals, and Golden Child Sungyun has 7 medals. So altogether, Golden Child has 33 medals from just 3 years of ISAC.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are some of our like stars. There's also lots of like teams that, you know, made people that made names for themselves. Like he doesn't have as many medals, but like 2AM Jokwon was the fastest male idol for the first couple of ISACs, and he would just like run so much faster than everyone with like perfect, beautiful posture, and then like not even be tired when he stopped. Like,
Yeah.
just so graceful and so fast. Astro is the undefeated champions of aerobic dance. They won it every time that there was aerobic dance. BTS were the undefeated relay champions for every year that they did it. No one could beat BTS.
They also kicked a lot of butt in wrestling.
Yes, Jungkook was like the wrestler.
Until he got taken down by Leo from VIX, who is another ace. Like, Leo also was really, really good at a bunch of different events. So he, like, the commentators were like, that's why he's the ace. When he, like, finally took down Jungkook, they were like, that's right, Leo. So there are definitely a lot of idols who made names for themselves because of what they did.
Yeah. It's a really cool thing. I feel like that's probably what I think is like the coolest part of ISAC, is that you already know all of these people for being talented in one thing, and it's really neat to see like, oh, they're also really good at this. Like they were saying in the Hall of Fame special to Mino and to Dojun, like, well, what if you like did like what if you had become athletes instead or whatever, because it's like they seem to have they've got that athletic.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. Like I could totally see someone who's very good at athletics being able to translate that into idol career. Like
totally. And I think there are a lot of examples of idols who do have like athletic backgrounds, like Mino and Jackson and Schumann, who like are, you know, athletes, and then they like got into idols and were kind of able to like transition that like like when you have that kind of physical intelligence, like it's easy to translate, I think, to different skills. But it was fun too also because you get to see the idols who do love like playing sports in their free time, and then they get to kind of like share that with their fans in a way that they don't usually. Like Schumann in particular is a very good soccer player, and so like he was always really fun to watch on the futsal team. All right, but now we're going to talk about the biggest controversy of ISAC, which is, of course, the injuries that happen every year. I think except for 2017, I didn't have any injuries listed from that year. But otherwise, yeah, there's a whole bunch. The most common injury that happens is falling during the track and field events because it's not a real track. When they were first holding the events outside at the stadiums, they had a real track to run on. When they moved to the indoor gymnasiums, they started using stickers on the ground. It's just a big sticker that says it's a track, but you can see it
like
bubbling,
air bubbles.
You can see it wrinkling. It's so slick. And Dispatch reported in 2019, like, hey, that's not a real track. It's actually just a sticker, and it's really slippery. And you can tell how slippery it is, like when you see them run, because they're running so fast. And you can see that, like, sometimes, like the way that they're like putting their feet on it, like they know that it's slippery and they're trying not to fall. So that's the most common injury that happens almost every single race that happens, someone falls. But we have a few notable injuries as well.
Sure. Some early ones at 2011 Summer Games, a solo artist named Baek Chung Kang, who had won a singing competition show, fell during the initial 100-meter race, and two super juniors like stop running and go back to get him. So like that was like a moment
Cute.
of like, oh, super junior. But like he left. Like after they picked him up off the track, he did not come back for the rest of the game. So like he was probably pretty hurt. But he like uploaded a fan cafe thing and was like, I'm fine. Thank you to the super junior Hyungs for taking care of me.
Aw.
Or whatever.
Nice. In the 2013 Winter Games, both Sistar Bora and DMTN,
Dalmatian.
they used to be called Dalmatian, then they changed their name. Daniel, they were both injured during the 70-meter dash. Bora's was not serious and she continued to compete in the rest of the events, but Daniel's brought up an old knee injury and he had to be taken to the emergency room afterward. That same year in the Summer Games, Vix Leo, he got the bad end of a slide tackle in the futsal match and he finished the game, but he left the venue on crutches and in a cast. And he had to cancel his appearance on Let's Go Dream Team afterward.
Another athletic show.
And he had to finish the music show promotions for their song Great You in a chair. So he was pretty hurt. That same year, EXO's Tao also suffered a minor injury to his back/waist after a high jump event. Like he just twisted wrong when he was doing it and like he lands in pain.
Because he would literally, I watched all of his high jump events because I think of his like martial arts training, that when he would go back over the thing, he would turn it into one of those twisty flips. Like he can't help it.
Yeah. He didn't jump forward. He would jump backwards. And so he like hurt his waist. That same year again, Infinite's Woohyun and Sungyeol got scraped up by bumping into each other, or not into each other, but bumping into different people playing futsal. Because futsal, like soccer, can be a pretty high contact
Yeah, and the boys
sport.
seem to take it like they're boys playing sports and they like take it very seriously. They get really aggro.
Yes, and unfortunately for Woohyun, he really threw himself into that. And in 2014, he was again injured while making a goal in futsal. This time he like you can watch the video of it. He like slides and like falls on his shoulder, but he makes the goal. But he like slides fully like into the goal when he makes it. And he ruptured his shoulder ligament on that slide, couldn't fully perform the choreo for the song Last Romeo during the music show promos afterward. And he later revealed in 2017 that the injury was permanent. He has no cartilage in his shoulder. He had to permanently alter his exercise routine, and he's expected to have chronic pain for the rest of his life.
Eek.
That same year, AOA's Solhyun hurt her knee while she was practicing for curling, and she had to miss the miniskirt promos. In 2015, the Winter Games, Tao again was injured. He sprained his ankle during a basketball game. He received treatment after the game. GOT7's Jackson also sprained his ankle when he fell during a track and field event. He received treatment on the scene and then he went to the hospital. And supposedly Shiny's Mino and Beast's Dujun Yoon were nearly injured at those games too. I read that Mino had like bruised his hip doing the hurdles, and I didn't see what Dujun's were, but they weren't like too bad. But unfortunately for Tao, he later re-injured his ankle in April. So like this was in January, and then a few months later, he re-injured his ankle. And the speculation is that his January injury was never able to heal because of his schedule with EXO.
Yeah.
And so he had to take a break from the music show promotions in April.
And then he quit.
More on that in our EXO deep dive. 2015 Summer Games, GOT7's Jin Young and Jackson were injured. The details of their injuries were unclear. JYP said that they just, quote, suffered bruises, but both of them were wearing full slings and casts on their arms. So I don't know why, like what the details of how they hurt their arms were, but fans were really mad because they had to then, like they were injured during their international schedules, like they were in slings. Moonbyul also fell on her face during a sprint, and she just had a few scrapes and bruises, but fans were initially like very
It's
worried.
a bad fall. It's one of the
fall.
worst ones to look at.
It's really bad. And fans knew that she had previously, like in her life, had surgery on her chin. So they were worried that it was going to like cause complications or whatever, but she was okay. And she did not leave the competition. She continued and participated in the archery event later. 2016 Winter Games, EXO Schumann bumps into Kim Dong-hyun during a futsal match. He injures his right knee and is helped off of the field. He has to wear a soft cast for a while afterward, and he had to minimize his performance at the Golden Discs as a result of it. And Kim Dong-hyun posted an apology on his Instagram because he was like, I had so much fun and then I hurt him. I'm so sorry. So that happened. In the Summer Games of that same year, 2016, BTS's Jin was accidentally elbowed in the face during a futsal match and got a bloody nose, had to leave the game. VIX's Leo also got a nose injury during the futsal, but didn't tell his company until after the game, and then he went to the hospital. But VIX ended up canceling an appearance on the show because of his swollen face. And in the 2018 Winter Games, Impact's Eungjae injured his shoulder and went to the hospital after his group's aerobic performance. And this, I think, is a good example of where fans get really mad about this kind of shit because the companies said, quote, his shoulders weren't in good condition before the performance.
Oh.
And then after that, he started to express pain. So that's why they started to get him treatment. But it's like, if you already knew he had a shoulder injury, why did you make him do aerobics?
Yeah.
What? That same year, Twice's Sana was hospitalized for enteritis after suffering acute abdominal pain during the competition. That's not necessarily something that happened as a result of the competition, but it happened. And 17's Jonghan slipped during the 400-meter race, and he had to have his wrist bandaged, but he finished the race, and he did not leave the competition.
Yeah, it's interesting, like this one about Leo not telling anyone about his nose injury until it was after. Like, I think it makes sense, like these people are idols, that they would still have that like athletic competitiveness to be like, I will not let this stop me. Because one of the games I was watching, Minhyuk from B2B, the announcers were saying before the high jump that he was literally not supposed to be at ISAC because he had just had surgery. And so he wasn't supposed to come. And he got his doctor to clear him a day before the competition and then begged to come. So, like, he was hurt, but he was like, oh, I will defend my titles.
Yeah. Exactly. People get really into it. They get really into it, which is fine. But, I mean, God, be careful. I mean, like, that permanent injury to his shoulder, like, that's messed. That's, like, that could be potentially a career-ending injury. Like, that's bad.
It is. But you could also get that hurt dancing.
Absolutely. That's very true.
There's implied risk in all of the things that they already do for their job.
That is true. But they get significantly more training in dancing than they do in futsal or whatever they're doing.
Sure.
But yeah, these are not all of the injuries that have ever happened, but these are the ones that were like made
enough
headlines
to be written about or made an impact later. Or whatever.
I just scoured through archives like every single year, and I had to look through like 6 different articles because it was like one article about one guy, and then it was like
another
3
about
different
these
whatever.
ones.
Because there's so many injuries that happen every freaking year.
Well, so there's like the biggest downside. We still have a regular controversy thing to get to.
Those are just the injuries.
Those are just injuries. But should we do controversies and then end it with memorable moments?
Yeah, let's do that so that we end on a happy note.
Okay. So general, like not all of these are controversies. They're more just like drama.
Yeah.
Generalized
Controversy
drama
is
or
a strong word
or whatever. But one is like generally pretty obvious, which is that because of YG's beef with MBC, like no YG artists ever appeared except for in 2011, Seungri and IU were a 2-person team, and all of the managers were wearing masks of the other Big Bang members when they entered the stadium. But like that's the only time that there was ever any kind of YG participation in this event.
Interesting.
And this didn't seem like it was a controversy because nobody had fucking shit to say about it, but I saw it when I watched the full episode. But in 2011, okay, wait. So at the beginning of all of these, after the idols read their idol oath, there's always an opening ceremony performance.
Just like the Olympics.
And it's always a comedian parodying something else, like every single year. And in 2011, Boom, the host from Amazing Saturday, was literally in blackface, dressed as Stevie Wonder. and Super Junior was his fake band, and they pretend to sing Superstition, and he calls up like Hyolyn and all the hot girls and makes all the hot girls dance, and like that was the opening, and everyone is fucking cracking up and having a great time, and there wasn't a single comment on this YouTube video, not a single comment referencing that this had happened and that it was crazy fucked up. They didn't include it in the highlight episode, so they must have known that it wasn't
figured
a
it
cool
out
idea.
now.
But
Lord
like,
have mercy.
oof, I was like, what?
Yikes.
Not cool.
Not
cool. And as we said in 2015, they banned fan cams for whatever reason. Not sure why, but they did.
Yeah. And then because like from, since the inception of ISAC, there have always been injuries and there's always been major fan criticism because of that. In the 2017 games removed the close contact events of futsal and wrestling, and they added bowling, rhythmic gymnastics, and men's aerobic dance in order to try and avoid the injuries. They also brought on a larger medical staff. They had an ambulance on call, and they said, quote, "This year we're aiming for no injuries." And
That's the one you
that's
didn't
the
have
one
any.
year that there weren't any. But the very next year we had many. So that didn't last very long, I suppose. In 2019, I remember when this, I was plugged into Kpop enough to remember when this happened. But during the filming for the 2020 winter show, which happened in December of 2019, a male staff member was filmed pulling Chu from Luna's hair to get her attention for an interview. So in the video that you can see, Chu is talking, I almost called her Luna. Chu is talking to other members, presumably of Luna. She's in a little group, and this staff member is near someone who is doing an interview or something, and I guess it's Chu's turn to be interviewed. So he goes up to her, and she has her back to him, and he goes up to her and he just
Yanks her ponytail.
tugs on her hair, and her head goes back, and then she comes or whatever, and the girls kind of laugh about it or whatever, and she just goes and does the interview. But Orbitz got the video to trend. They were very mad about it, reasonably so.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's not cool, and what, you don't know this person, and I don't know, whatever. And they had also NBC had said, oh well, he tried to call her and tap on her shoulder, but no, he didn't. He did not tap on her shoulder. He just went straight for the hair. But anyway, NBC issued a formal apology, said that the guy had also personally apologized to Chu, and Chu was like, it's fine. But that happened in 2019. This next one, not really a controversy, but both EXID and Girls' Day members have talked about all the flirting and hookups that happen at ISAC, because again, this is one of the only times where all these idols get together and just hang out. And apparently it's mostly during the opening and closing ceremonies, and it's all eye contact and subtle hand grazes, like you're in a Regency era romance novel. They literally said, quote, "You can see it in the way they exchange glances," according to Hyolyn. But here he said, "The love doesn't happen on the spot. It's more like scanning and searching." So this is where you find your next girl.
Yes, I totally see that. You're just looking around, and then you oh, that boy is so cute, and then you see who else he talks to that maybe and you can ask and get the deets, and
then you make nice eye contact, and then you pass by and you brush fingers, and then ooh la la, it all takes place from there.
There's also a crazy amount of the fan cam footage is shipper driven.
Yeah.
There was a bunch that kept coming up. There was a Tiara member and an Infinite that people shipped really hard, and there were so many videos of just a crowd of idols, and they're all just standing, but then the caption would come up and be look, they're looking at it, they're looking in the same direction. That,
oh my God,
that's all anyone needs.
I love that stuff. Because it's all so delusional.
I love it though.
But now we know it's not that delusional, because it's really happening.
Delusional.
It's really happening. I read that there has never been a group that has been officially banned from participating in the games. Never anyone who's been officially banned by NBC. But there are a few fandoms that like to joke about their groups getting banned, because there are rules against the idols taking selfies and posting spoilers. And so Mon Bébé like to joke that Monsta X posts pictures every single year to try and get banned. GOT7 posted a selfie one year and then never came back. So Agassi like to say that they got kicked out. And then I actually saw several different ARMY blogs claiming BTS is banned. They're not officially banned. No group is officially banned, but they did post repeated spoilers, and they eventually do stop going. Like, they only participate in a few years and then they don't return. But apparently the reason for their not returning is because of both scheduling conflicts and alleged disagreements between Hybe and NBC. So larger things at play happening in the background. No one has ever gotten kicked out just because they posted a picture on Twitter.
And yeah, it seemed like, I wonder if that was like a rule that came in later, because I also was noticing when going through the archives for like older years, like in 2013 and 2012, like SM Town was like posting full pictures on their website before it aired.
Mm-hmm.
Girls' Day went on Twitter and held up all their medals before it ended. Like, it seemed like spoiling ISAC was like part of the thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm also like weirdly, like, again, this is just like a weird thing. Like, I'm a little confused about like why ARMY would smugly be like, they're not allowed to go anymore, because they were like the champions.
They were really
won
good.
Everything.
Yeah.
They got so much good screen time. They also got to run BTS episodes at it. So they got even extra content. There's more fan cams of BTS than anything else. Like, it seems like all of this was working in your favor. Why don't you like it? I don't get it.
I don't know. Maybe they like the idea of BTS being the bad boys who
They got
kicked out for breaking the rules. But the spoiler rule also doesn't make sense to me because of the fan cams.
Right.
Like, all of the audience members are there
spoiling
and
the
they're
whole
spoiling
thing.
the entire thing. So like I've literally watched Shouting's whole competition, and like that there's no consequences for that or whatever. So I think the spoiler thing is probably just like we'd really like it if you didn't.
We'd appreciate
and
it
they
if you didn't.
don't give a fuck if you do. But unfortunately, this new 2022 has come under fire a little bit already. The first controversy that happened is that the organizers came under fire because the new rules were accused of violating human rights.
I can't even tell you how fucking mad I am about that wording being used. I've been like literally furious for days since I read that.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting to watch idols for 16 straight hours is not a fucking violation of human rights. It is a choice to go attend a fun thing.
That's not the human right that was getting violated, though.
But saying that they can't eat and can't come back, it's a choice.
Yeah. No. I agree. The wording is way too strong. And like, there are actual human rights that are getting violated all over this planet all of the time. This isn't one of them. But this is what happened. Okay, so the rule was that the audience could not eat inside for COVID safety, but they also were not allowed to leave and come back. And the problem is that ISAC is filmed from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., which is about 15 hours. So they're claiming locking us into this stadium for 15 hours without food is a violation of our human rights. That's too extreme, guys. Just say it's unreasonable.
Yeah, say it's unfair.
Just say
I don't
it's
like
unreasonable.
It would be nicer if we could go and come back.
Just say, like, that's ludicrous. No one can go 15 hours without eating. Like, I mean, you can, but it's uncomfortable. And so the rule was changed so that fans can leave to eat and come back. So that was already fixed. Everybody calm down. But the other issue that has been brought up is that fan cams have shown that during one of the track and field events, 4 different idols fell at the same like curve of the track. But this time, the presumption is not because of the track itself, but the fan noted that all of the idols that fell are wearing a brand of shoes called Ugly Shoes. They're as a promotional item, the idols were like given
instead
them
of the
to
New
wear.
Balances
Right.
like they did that one year.
But these are not athletic shoes. They're the ugly, chunky, big chunky soles with the oversized heel.
Yeah, you
and
can't
those are
run
not
in
made for
those.
running. And so these idols who have been given them to wear them specifically, they're falling when they're running them because they're not running shoes.
That makes sense.
Doesn't that make sense? But that's the most recent controversy that I could find.
Sorry, I just got so fucking worked up over the use of violation of human rights. Like,
that's fair.
like,
No, it's totally
that is
fair.
so unreasonable.
As soon
to
as
use
I
words like
I
that.
saw that headline, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. Like, what are we bitching about now? Like, we need to words
mean
matter.
things.
Words matter. y'all need to be more careful about these wordings.
Yes.
Because this is how we get dismissed.
Yeah, you don't like ugly
hysterical.
side of K-pop things, then don't say that your human rights are being violated because you can't take pictures of your idols for 16 straight hours. Like,
again, that's not what was being violated. It wasn't about the pictures. It was about not being able to eat.
But it essentially is, because the point is, like, if you wanted to eat, you could leave. You just don't get to come back.
Yeah.
They weren't locked in the building.
True.
They could leave. That's my point.
Sure.
Is they could leave. If you think it's not fair that you can't come back, then you say that.
Sure.
But they were not being locked in a room with no food, like, against their will.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely
my point.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Okay, but now we're going to end our episode with all the fun things that have happened. Because again, like we were saying at the beginning, like I think it's kind of it's a double-sided coin.
Double-edged sword, whatever.
Yeah,
yes.
there are it is really fun. All of the idol interactions are like arguably the best part. The competition is so fun. You get to see your idols try new things and excel in different things. And sometimes they don't excel and they just have fun.
Right. Or interact with groups they don't normally interact with. You get like all of K-pop at the same event.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't happen very much.
And it's a very like fun spectacle, but again, like there are things that are iffy about it, and you know the injuries are bad, and so there's good and bad with all of it. But let's talk about some of the best parts.
Okay, so some fun things, some highlights, some fun facts. So ISAC has a curse. One of the commentators, his name is Yo Yu Chun, and he's like an actual sports commentator. And if he says that your group is going to win something, you will not. Like, he has this curse that if he says, like, oh, I think A-Pink is going to win, A-Pink trips and gets disqualified, or they drop the baton, or anytime he says someone's name, it curses them. Mm-hmm. And this was the case for like 8 years. And then in 2019, he said IZ*ONE was going to win a race, and they actually did. And it was the first time the curse was ever broken.
Wow. Amazing.
So people don't want to hear their name out of his mouth. And he knows about the curse, and he says it, and the other commentators are like, no! And like it always happens. It's very funny. He's just like a sweet old man that can't help himself.
At this point, he's just like proving it.
Yeah. And also I thought it was fun that in the original like 3 games in 2010 and 2011, there was a team called Team P, like they were alphabetical, but Team P was made up of older idols and actors, including Bada from SES and my favorite Baby Vox member, Mion. I was so excited to see her. I was like, hey, look at you. And some comedians, and the bit that they did every year was that these idols were, quote, not invited, but we let them come anyway.
Yeah.
And it was just like a fun little extra thing to have some old gen K-pop participating in the games, which I love. Another very funny moment from the 2011 Lunar New Year edition, Luna from FX won the high jump, and when she gets over and like wins, like Mino runs up and is like, yeah, and then
because he was like her coach.
Mino is never in any of the like sit around photos because he is always like at the track, like fucking playing coach and like in everybody's shit at every single event that he was not participating
Absolutely. And in this one, like but you can like see her like getting a pep talk like from him, and he's like gesturing, like telling her like when to jump, blah, this, blah, blah. And so then as soon as she makes it, he's the first one to run and be like, you did it, yeah.
So then Onu comes to join the celebration, but literally runs straight into the high jump bar. Like it's still there and he doesn't see it. So he fully goes over it and then just tackles Luna to the ground. It's so hilarious.
I've read a lot of speculation from Shawwolves that think he did this on purpose as a joke because when Mino runs to go congratulate her, he does a really cool, like, smooth flip. Like, he, like, jumps over the bar like it's nothing. And he's just like, yeah. And so then Onu, like, comes and just, like, boom, like a goofy, clumsy guy just, like, tackles it because they... they did it so smoothly and he didn't. So that was the bit.
It was very funny. And I also saw, this was in the highlight episode, but in the 2011 games when they first introduced the speed walking round, all of the boys go to do it and they're basically just running without bending their knees. And they look so crazy, and they finish and the announcer comes on and is like, everyone, like, we need to redo it. Nobody followed the rules. So then they had to like break and try to show them how to speed walk. They do the race again. And then at the end, the announcer came on and said, like, disqualification. No, there was not a speed walking winner. Like, none of them could do it. And Lee Tuck specifically was the funniest because he was like duck walking. Like, he turned his feet out so far. Like, the idea of trying to walk fast was just like breaking all of their brains. And they look so silly. And they're just like running with straight knees. And it's the goofiest thing in the world. But like, no one got a medal because they couldn't speed walk. They didn't know how. Which I think is great.
That is really funny. They do figure it out eventually, but that's hilarious. Okay, let's see. What else?
Oh, also that year, Infinite's Dongwoo, one of the champions, also was praised very heavily by netizens because he was caught after the games picking up trash all by himself.
So
like
sweet.
a good little citizen. And then Sistar Bora and 4-Minute Sohyun had a really intense archery rivalry for many years, and they always faced each other in the finals. They did it 4 different times, and Bora won every time. But then the 4th year in 2014, Sohyun finally beat her, and it went like extra rounds because they were both just like bam, 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 bullseyes, and like it was an intense like rivalry, and it was very cool.
I love that.
The archery ones were always so exciting. They are. Because I think, like we said, they probably don't air most of the prelims unless really funny shit happens. They mostly show you like the 2 best ones competing for the gold. And it's always like, they're good.
They're really good.
Like they're actually really good at archery. So like it's really compelling. And it's like, you don't know who's going to win. It's very exciting stuff.
And they also make it look really easy. Like they're just like shoot, like, cause it's, the archery target has like different lines or whatever. So like the bullseye itself has a camera in the middle, but it has a little circle that like, if you get it in the circle, it's 10 points, and they will just like 10, 10, 10, like all of them are in the middle. And I'm like, I know archery is not that easy. Like, why are you guys so good at this? But anyway, other fun moments that have happened. In 2015, Monsta X Juhan won one of the sprints by falling into the finish line. He was first, but it was a really close race. And then right before he reached the finish line, he tripped on the sticker track and he slides forward on his chest and came in first, and they gave it to him. The following year in 2016 at the Winter Games, B2B's Eunhyuk competed in the archery event dressed as a centaur with a full like horse's butt and extra legs. It's very hilarious. And then he made it like a bit to come to all the archery events dressed in different costumes. So like one year he was a Cupid, and it was very funny. The summer games of that same year, 2016, WJSN's Chang Xiao wowed everybody with her winning rhythmic gymnastics performance. She's, I think, used to be a gymnast in China as well, so it's a little bit unfair, but she's fucking amazing. The reactions to all of these are fantastic. Monsta X in particular, like, cannot stay in their seats. They're like so wowed. But you can watch the whole performance on YouTube. It's very good. In the 2017 Winter Games, this is just a funny thing, Red Velvet's Yeri carried a life-size Schumann standee during the opening ceremony because he couldn't come in person. And this is perhaps one of the most famous moments of ISAC. Like, when you look up ISAC legendary moments, like, this comes up constantly. And this is an instance where all the idols are just like hanging around.
Because they sit in like the middle of the track.
Yeah, and they're just like waiting for their events to happen. So EXO Sehun was talking to NCT Johnny, and they're just like chatting or whatever. And this is one of the years where everybody's wearing white. So EXO Sehun talking to Johnny, the conversation stops and he walks over to, this is the part that, one of the parts that the whole thing makes me laugh. But Sehun is just like in his own little world, and he like goes over to this stand and he's like holding a mask, and he like puts his mask like on the stand, and then he just like walks back And he starts talking to the person that's around his shoulder. And then he turns around and it's not Johnny. It's Jonghan from 17. And poor Jonghan, who is like just debuted, fresh little baby, doesn't know EXO Sehun, is standing there and his face, like Sehun is talking to him for a while.
Right.
And he is standing there with this look on his face like, oh my God, is he talking to me?
Because it was the back half of
he
the
doesn't know.
conversation that he was already having with Johnny.
He doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's never met Sehun. So he's standing there with this like terrified look on his face. And then Sehun looks over his shoulder, visibly jumps back and goes, oh shit, like you're not Johnny. And he just doesn't even apologize. He just runs away. He just leaves, like immediately beelines for Chanyeol, finds actual Johnny and like hangs his head in shame. Meanwhile, Jonghan immediately walks over to Wonho and starts dishing everything. He like, you can see in the video, he's like, oh my God, Sehun just came over to me. He started talking to me. I was like, what? And it's so funny. It's so funny. I love it. It's one of my favorite ISAC moments of all time. The next year, 2018, the Summer Games. The MC Hyunmoo, he promised to buy fried chicken for everybody if anyone could break the bullseye camera in the archery competition. And almost immediately after jokingly making this bet, Red Velvet's Irene calmly shatters it and all the idols get to eat. And she later said that she doesn't even eat chicken, but she just wanted to give all of her fellow competitors a snack. And it was really impressive. And there are actually a handful of idols that have been so good at archery that they actually got it straight into the bullseye camera. So some other bullseye camera moments, because archery is a big deal. 2014, Rainbow's Jaekyung is the first to break the lens with a perfect shot in the bronze finisher. 2015, EXID's Jonghwa and Hyelin hit it so precisely that the arrows bounced back out of the bullseye, and it almost looked like they didn't hit it at all because there just like suddenly wasn't an arrow on the target. In 2016, G-Friend's Omji earned the nickname Archery Fairy after hitting the camera. In 2017, Vernon hit, 2017's Vernon, that's what happened, also hit a perfect 10, broke the camera. In 2019, Monsta X's Ki-hyun first hit and broke the camera, but then 17's DK shot 4 10s in a row to the point where the commentators were joking that they should rename themselves 710. And then as soon as they made that joke, he shot one more straight into the camera as well. So always very fun to watch.
There was a
them hit
montage of them in the Hall of Fame thing. Like NBC was going through cameras. Like the amount of idols who broke the cameras was crazy. Yeah. I was like, does this not happen at the Olympics? Like breaking these cameras so often, but like,
yeah, I don't know. It's really funny. And like some of them even, you know, like depending on like how, like they would always have moments where it's like the camera is shaking because like if you hit it so close and so
like
hard that
focus,
the whole thing gets fuzzy. But also I just needed to shout this out because Jackson is very athletic and he's very good at many, many, many things. And archery is not one of them. And he hilariously and famously completely missed the target and shot into the wall. And he like goes up and he's really like taking it seriously and he shoots and then he realizes that it hits like a foot aside. Like he's so off. And he just like doesn't crack a smile. He's just like, thank you. And he like bows and he's like, thank you very much. And he takes it in stride because he's Jackson. But it's really funny to see him be bad at something like that.
One of the Oh My Girls like almost killed people one year because she closed the wrong eye.
Oh no!
So it just like went completely the wrong direction.
The audience is just like, ah! One time, speaking of archery, a photo of Chewie competing in the archery event was used in Brazilian news as a photo of a Taiwanese Olympian. So she was mistakenly reported as an Olympian.
But that year, Twice was wearing Hunger Games like Mockingjay outfits for archery. They also one year wore like princess capes. Like Twice always wore outfits for the archery competition, which is very fun.
It is very fun. And this is not a legendary moment, but it did make me laugh because according to EXO, SM used to send them to PE classes before they could compete in ISAC. And not only does that make me giggle, but I also feel like that's pretty smart because you should learn how to run before you have to run.
Yeah.
So I don't fault SM for that. And EXO probably needed it. But I have to give a shout out to Baekhyun's speed walking win because eventually they do figure it out. And not only is just like speed walking hilarious, but he's speed walking and he's just like wiggling his little butt.
Go.
Look at him go.
Oh, he's so proud.
He turns behind himself and he sees, because he's just like taking his teeny tiny little steps. He's wiggling his butt. And then he looks over his shoulder and he realizes how far ahead he is. So he just holds out his arms, sticks out his tongue, and grins through the whole like last few steps. And it's just like, ha ha, yeah, I win. And he's doing this stupid speed walking wiggle the whole time. And it's very funny.
Great. It is funny.
Literally the only other thing I had on my list was just every event that Chemino has ever participated in is a legendary moment because it is.
Because he takes it so deeply serious.
So seriously, especially the high jumps. And I always remember when when they were doing the swimming competitions and he did the high dive because
that was a different show.
Oh, that's a different show.
Mm-hmm. That was a diving show that got canceled.
But there was a clip I saw of him also doing some kind of dive. No, I saw him do a swim, but then I was watching a highlight and I saw him do a dive. But you're right. They must have edited that wrong and grabbed a clip from the wrong thing because the clip is definitely of Key being afraid. And that's a difference. That was the
dive show that got immediately canceled because of all the injuries that people were getting.
Beware in those highlight reels. You might have false footage
in them.
But yeah, Mino dominated everything he did.
Yeah, and it was great. I loved when he was part of it. And the one year when he was like hurt or something, and so they made him the coach of the futsal team because he like couldn't stay away.
He's too competitive. I'm almost surprised that like Yuno has never demanded to be a part of this. I mean, I'm sure that Changmin was like over my dead body, but Yuno, he loves competition.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like the Team SM at the very beginning was Super Junior, Shiny, and one of the Traxes, who I guess was like, I want to run, let me come. And then FX came, Girls' Generation, never, even once. Red Velvet a little bit, but never TVXQ.
EXO
came.
And NCT.
Yeah.
Not all of NCT, but just some of them.
Yeah, but no TVXQ and no Girls' Generation like ever.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
And I always wondered too, like, how they decide who to send or whatever. I wonder if it's by choice, like if the group is not interested in going, because then eventually, you know, you get like just the few idols from one group is going to go, and not the whole group or whatever. So
yeah.
I wonder if the companies...
just my Shawwall perspective because that's what I paid attention to the most. They made all of Shiny go to the first year, and there's a very funny like montage of fan cam of like Jong just complaining in the sun.
Yeah.
Like leaning on Key and just like clearly looking so like, I really don't want to be here because like they made Shiny do a relay race.
Yeah.
But like other than that, only Mino was participating. And then at some point they just started sending Mino and just like, don't even send the others. They don't want to be here.
Yeah. And it's also like, it's a really long day. Like I said, it's from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. So that's like a very long time that the idols have to be there. And yeah, when it was outside, it's outside in the sun. There's also really hilarious montages of like Timeen fucking around the whole time because he at that time was like, I mean, he was still a baby, and so he's just like
chasing butterflies.
Yeah, like trimming Jong's leg hair, like doing like daisy chains, like whatever. He's just like living in his own little world or whatever. There's so many fun moments. I saw a really funny, I think this was from the 2019 one where the boys went. And they have, like, in addition to the big cameras with the cameramen, they also have these little, like, drone cameras. And there's this really funny clip. He's not the main thing. He just, like, zooms by in the corner. But so, like, the camera is focused on this, like, group of idols that's just, like, hanging out. And then on the side, you see one of the little, like, robot cameras, like, going, like, zooming past. And Eric is, like, running after it. And they, like, run off of the screen. And then the camera stays, and then all of a sudden, Eric runs back, and the camera's chasing him.
I love it. See, it's just
It's really fun. They just get to like hang out
it's
and goof
mostly
around.
fun
It's mostly
times.
very fun.
I totally get that it's risky and it's bad and like they're not athletes and they shouldn't have to. But I just, for the sake of something fun and interesting, something else to do, I think it's so fun.
I think it's fun too. And I think that if the idols are choosing to go and participate and they get to choose how much effort they put into it or whatever, like, great. They should have fun. It's a fun event. I really, really, really like the socializing aspect of it, like for their sake and for ours.
Yeah, everyone wins in that part.
Yeah, so there are so many things that I really like about it. I think, of course, there are things that could probably be fixed. But in general, I think it's a fun time.
Yeah, and I'm excited that it will finally be back. It will feel like something is a little bit like normal again if there's going to be ISAC to watch.
Yes, and
next
for
month.
everyone who's like, you know, super into our newer 3rd, 4th gen groups, like those are the main competitors this year. So all of your faves, they're going to be there. I know the Stray Kids are there. I know the boys are there. I know ITZY's there. Golden Child is there. A bunch of people.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of people.
So it'll
I've
be a
seen
good time.
a lot of really funny photos of Woods.
Oh my Woods.
Woods is there. I saw a funny series of photos that was just like Woods disappearing pants because he starts out like wearing his like capris or whatever, and like every photo he's like pulled them up higher and higher and higher until they're like teeny tiny little shorts like up by his thighs.
Adorable.
Adorable. I can't believe he's 6 feet tall. I don't believe it.
I know.
I don't believe it.
I'm still
He's so
shocked about
small.
that. But yeah, so there's your like primer. That's what ISAC is. That's what it's been through history. So I hope that if you've never watched one, that you watch it this year, or if you want to watch an old one, I think that they sincerely hold up and are great. And the vast majority of the years are still available, hella subbed, the whole thing in all the places where you go find stuff, a little bit on YouTube as well. And like I watched this year, or over the past couple of days, I watched 2011, 2013, and 2014 in their entirety, and then like whole segments of other years. And it was a great time.
It's really entertaining. It really is. Like it's one of those things where every single year it happens, there are articles and fans asking like, why hasn't this been shut down? Like, why does this keep being held? Like, it affects their schedules. It can injure them. Like, they're already so busy. It's such a long filming, like whatever, this long list of complaints. And everyone's always like, but why? Why does it keep happening? And the answer is because it's entertaining as hell.
Yeah, and
it's
everybody,
so fun to watch.
It gets great rating. Like people watch it. Like it's
The
clearly
idols
worth
have fun doing
everyone's
it. Like,
time.
yeah, everybody. It's like, why does this keep happening? Because people love it.
Yeah, because it's fun.
For all of its flaws, it's still really fun to watch.
Yeah. So there you go, and we'll be right back with a random game. All right, we are back. And the random number generator was listening to us.
As always.
And it chose The Boys.
With a Z.
With a Z.
This is a boy group that currently has 11
11
members. They debuted with 12, but they currently have 11. They were formed by IST Entertainment. They debuted on December 6th, 2017, with a lead single called Boy from a debut EP called The First.
Yes, and they are the only group at their company. So they have that going for them. And yeah, they did Road to Kingdom during 2020 and won it. So they got to go on Kingdom, which they didn't win, but still.
But they still got to go on it, got that exposure.
And I think from that they got a bit of a reputation for being like dramatic, acrobatic showmen.
Yeah, especially during Road to Kingdom, I think that they really are the ones who set the bar for the theatricality of the performances. Like they were constantly thinking of like an incredibly grand, like whole piece of theater to put on. Like it wasn't just about the choreo. It was about the spectacle. And I think they really like made a name for themselves with that, with those performances.
Yeah, doing like stunts and throwing each other around and stuff. They also have a pretty epic dance aerobics performance where they
dressed as Spider-Man.
Spider-Mans, and they swung Q like on their arms. Like it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
But they've put out a ton. I think they've put out a ton of music in their small time of existing.
Yes, they have 2 studio albums, an OST, 8 EPs, and they're coming out with their 9th EP later this month. So definitely no shortage of music from the boys, for sure.
They've also debuted in Japan already, and I thought it was very interesting. Their Japanese releases are in Korean.
Oh, interesting.
They are Japanese releases, and they're not different, but the language sung is Korean, and I'm so like fascinated by that because I don't know if anyone else has ever done that. I feel like Japanese releases are in Japanese.
Usually in Japanese. That is interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I would be interested to look more into that. Fascinating.
But yeah, they just put out a pre-release music video this week before their new comeback, and they're going to be at KCON, and they just finished their first like US tour.
They were at ISAC, I believe.
Yes, they do. ISAC Juyeon was in the Hall of Fame special. He doesn't say a goddamn word, not one. It's
so
very funny.
He's just there for his face.
He's just there for his cute little face.
It's such a cute face, though.
But yeah, I think they're great. They had a member named Hwal who left a while back. He left like the same time like Wonho left Monsta X, so it was like back then. But he has since been like in a couple like pretty popular boy love dramas, and like he does modeling stuff.
He
like he didn't.
He was injured. He had like an injury
I
that,
think
that
so.
he couldn't keep dancing or something, and that's why he pivoted to acting.
Yeah, but he's still like very around and like does modeling and like. Yeah, he didn't like quit entertainment, but he's not
he
in
just
the boys
couldn't
anymore.
continue to be. I remember when he posted his like very sad letter about why he couldn't continue.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's still around.
But yeah, I love the boys. I think that they're really great and talented. I just wish that they would go back to making music that I liked more. That's my own.
Isn't that the
Isn't
way
that how
things
it goes?
go lately?
Isn't that how it goes?
This bullet group slur us in with their cuteness, and then they yell at us. Only Monsta X is allowed to yell at us.
But their most popular music video at the moment is one that leans to the cute side. It is from about exactly a year ago, I think, because I was in Palm Springs for my friend's birthday and I watched the music
Almost
video
exactly
for the first time.
August 4th, 2021.
Yep, I knew it. So we're going to watch Thrill Ride. And if you would like to watch it with us, you can just pull it up and press play when I say go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, and this is fun because this came out like right after we did an episode about how no one does
lifeguard. We wanted lifeguard concept.
And that's what this is. They're at like a resort, and they're dressed as both normal boys and lifeguards. So it's like sometimes they're just wearing like their robes.
And they have like jobs.
Yeah, they like work at their
jobs. It's like High School Musical too.
Yeah. It's like some of them are lifeguards, and like Q is making the drinks, and someone's a bellboy. And then we get a very brightly colored dance set on a basketball court.
I also think what's cute about this is that, because it doesn't seem as common, is that the resort and the basketball court are fake. Like they're in a studio.
Sets.
They didn't go somewhere, which I think is fun.
Yeah.
It's inside, which gives it that theatrical quality.
Yes,
it's a set. It's
absolutely.
not a real place.
I love, there's a whole set of them doing the choreo in just their bathrobes, and I think that's very cute.
And the sunglasses. They like look like Tom Cruise in Risky Business or something. Like they're just chilling. And then this set with this kind of carnival. Oh, because Thrill Ride.
Right.
It's
Thrill
this
Ride.
They have like go-karts covered in neon. Mm-hmm. And it has that bit of the like, what do they call it? Not a speedway. There's like a name for the
like
carnival.
An arcade or whatever. Yeah.
It says Thrill Ride up
Yeah.
there.
We get to dance in front of the like the little lights. But again, in a set, not at a real place.
Which I like because it gives it that standard K-pop box that I love. Think about summertime romantic.
What? He had like tattoos on his neck. Oh, now they're dancing in the pool. But
I don't know
maybe in just like a few feet of water.
Sunwoo is so dangerous. I find him to be one of the most dangerous idols there is. Now they're playing basketball.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of great hair in this comeback.
Really good hair. And I mean, they're all so pretty. Like all of these the little close-ups. You know, we have a lot of brightly colored hair, like pinks and blues. The bellhop costumes are really adorable.
But yeah, the lifeguard concept is great.
Yeah.
More lifeguards. Slow motion dab!
Cute.
They're so cute. Cute. The boys.
The boys.
I hope I get to see you next week.
Yeah, we'll get to say hello in person at KCON.
Hooray!
Amazing.
Weekly recommendation time?
I feel like my main recommendation is for everyone to look up the 2016 Cheongshao rhythmic gymnastics piece because it's really good. And the reactions are really fun. And like WJSN, like obviously knows her entire routine and they're just like watching her from the sidelines.
And then they all cry really hard when she finishes.
Yeah. Because I mean, her finish is the best part. Like to be honest, the ending move is incredible. And it's just really fun to watch. And I think it's a good example of the like sincere professionalism that like everybody brings to ISAC in a way. And this, I mean, yes, you get like Unhyuk dressing like a centaur, but also like the cameramen, the commentators, and then like some of the competitors are taking it very, very seriously. And that I think like when I watched that, I was like, I really feel like I'm watching the Olympics. Like this is so legit. So that's my recommendation.
Okay. My ISAC specific recommendation would be if you don't have time to like watch anything else and you want to like see a little of this before the next one happens. I think that the Hall of Fame special from 2021 like really does the trick. It's like 3 hours all told, both episodes. And I feel like they cover a lot of the best moments and you really get an idea for the vibe. And idols who already participated in it are like laughing and reminiscing. And it all just feels like a nice good time and it gives you a good picture of what ISAC is.
Yeah.
So if you can only watch one thing, I would say that. But I just need to take a moment because I've been having a deep emotional week over the Girls' Generation comeback.
Absolutely.
So Girls' Generation, for their 15th anniversary, they reunited after 5 years away from each other and put out a whole goddamn album. Like not just one song. They gave me a whole album. It has 10 tracks on it. I'm so happy. When I watched the music video the first time, I cried so hard. Like especially that like after the like Sohyun Taeyeon part and then it all drops out and it's like just their voices like on the last chorus. Like, oh my God, I can't even take it. Like it makes me so fucking emotional because they're my gateway group and they mean so much to me and I like love that they're still that in whatever way they are still around and they like all look so beautiful and it was just so nice to see them all together and the album is so good. Like it's been so long. Like I've heard a lot of their voices in different capacities but not together.
Yeah.
And like getting to hear like Sohyun and Taeyeon like share those big and Tiffany like getting it all. It's so good. And like I even was like getting all emotional about there's a song called Villain that like literally starts with like police dispatch and they're like escape car, like license plate GG0408 or whatever. And like Girls' Generation songs like start with little skits and like I don't know, I was feeling so much like having them back. and it's really nice. And I can't recommend the album like enough. It's so good. It's so good. Every song is really good. There's one song called You Better Run that is maybe the weirdest song I've heard in a while. Like, it's odd, but it's cool. Like, the first time I heard it, I was like, maybe this song is too ridiculous. And then the second time I heard it, I was like, maybe it's genius. It's very weird, though. And, like, I don't know. I just love it. And I'm so glad that it happened. I'm very sad that Sohyun has COVID and I'm not going to get stages this week.
Oh, I know. I really, really, really hope that after she recovers, they do some promos, because it would just be so, so sad if they, for their 15th anniversary, didn't get to do a full promotion for it. Like, that would stink. It's been so long since we've had them together. Like, give us as much as you can.
And I know that like so many strings were pulled and like so much had to happen to like get them to all this together point anyway. Yeah. So like, sad these times that we live in, but I'll take it. I'll never be ungrateful in these situations where where groups are different and things are weird, and like I'm gonna take what I can get.
And they do have a little variety show that they've done on YouTube. It's called
Soshi Tom Tom.
And it's very cute. Like I think it's in the very first episode, they like bring out 3 boys, one of whom is the baby that they took care of on Hello Baby, and they have to guess which baby it is because all of the boys are 15 now. And it's very funny, and like they're all just, and they like play fun games, and they're just like back together again, and it's really sweet.
And it was just nice to have that. So very appreciative. Love my GG, and I'm just glad. I'm just glad that we got this. So yeah, please listen to the album if you haven't, because I think that it's good. And that is it for this week. If you would like to get in contact with us, we can be found at AMA Kpop Pod on Twitter and Instagram, amakpoppod@gmail.com for emails, 181-AMA-Kpop5 for voicemails and text messages. Thanks for sending us voicemails and text messages like I asked for last week. Maybe Google will leave my number up and stop being such a brat about it. P.O. Box 26096, Los Angeles, California, 90026 for actual packages. Patreon.com/AMA Kpop Pod. You can donate money, support the show, and get extra bonus content in return. Linktree/AMA Kpop will take you to our YouTube, our Spotify, our Discord if you want to hang out with other listeners. And that's all the places. And we'll be back with something next week, and hopefully see a lot of y'all next weekend at KCON. You can hit us up on social media. Like, we'll come meet you somewhere or whatever. Like, I don't know. We want to hang out with you guys. So just let us know if you're there, because I want to see your beautiful shining faces and give you an AMA Kpop, give you a button. I can't talk. It's done. We're almost at 2 hours. So I'm losing it. But thanks for listening to this. We love you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Jonghyun, your inspiration.